Well, money matters to everybody, no matter who you are, man, woman, young, or old. But there are interesting differences between the way men and women approach finance. I'm joined today by Carrie Schwab-Pomerantz. Now, you're the president of the Charles Schwab Foundation,
Yep.
as well as an advocate of financial literacy. And you guys did just an interesting survey on the differences between men and women in finance. What do you think was the most striking part?
Well, I mean, what was striking to me was the gender differences. I have been studying women's versus men's attitudes and behaviors around financial matters for many, many years. And unfortunately, women have always fallen behind. But so we just conducted this study on young people 16 to 25 years old. And you would think that things would be so much better.
Right.
But unfortunately, what we found is that young women, while they care deeply about financial independence, they are falling behind on their savings and investing at a very young age, right out of the gate. Yet they're doing all the right things. They're more likely to spend less than young men. They're more likely to have second jobs, but they have 40% less in savings.
Why? I mean, it seems like that it should be the opposite.
Yeah, well, we do know, obviously, in this country that women get paid 80 cents on the dollar.
Right.
But believe it or not, it all starts at home. I mean, it's just too hard to believe. But our studies show that parents talk to their daughters differently than their sons. With their daughters, they talk about savings and household expenditures, which is super important. But with their boys, they're teaching them about investing and borrowing, which are two key components to wealth building. So that, and then what we discovered from another study is that parents are paying differently or providing different kinds of work and different kinds of chores at home and paying differently for their daughters versus their sons. So this pay inequality starts right at home.
This is the part that just blows my mind when we were talking about this earlier, that daughters are paid less than sons, maybe not necessarily in the same household, but a household with daughters pays someone less than a household with sons, and how we are basically perpetuating the stereotype from the get-go.
Yes, and you know, in fact, a friend of mine, after I showed her the study, she said, I have to admit, I've encouraged my daughter to babysit, but I encouraged my son to go work in an office. So we're all guilty of it, and I think it's just a matter of bringing it to our attention to make us realize, hey, we've got to do better than that. And so with our daughters, we've got to teach them about saving and investing. Investing in particular, by the way, half of these young women had investment accounts relative to the men. So men were twice as likely to have an investment account.
Oh my gosh! And the implications of this go beyond just how much money is in your retirement or your savings account. It has life choices with domestic violence and so on.
Yeah, well, exactly. Having independence and confidence in your life is so important, and make the choices for yourself. Even we talk about workforce, improprieties, right? And like gender inequality and so forth. And it allows you to have the choice to leave that company and go to a company that has a culture that respects everybody. So financial literacy not only obviously gives you that security, but it gives you choices and freedom in your life.
And if you're in a bad situation with a relationship, then you can leave and just exit that as well.
Absolutely.
So where do you find the solution for this? I mean, is it early education? I think part of it too is just making parents aware.
Yeah, making parents aware. Again, talking to your sons and your daughters the same way. It's really important to teach the young people not only to budget and live within their means, but save and invest for their future, and start at an early age. With my own kids, I started teaching them investing at age 12, and when they had their first job at 16, I had them all three open up a Roth IRA. So investing is super critical. But with your daughters, you might have to have a frank conversation with them, because we do know once they go in the workforce, they're likely going to be paid less than men.
Right.
And we live longer, and we tend to go in and out of the workforce to care for children or elderly parents. So what happens is we have less money to save for longer years of retirement.
Right.
So it's about being really frank and honest and shepherding our daughters along so that they do not run into any situation like domestic violence or gender inequality in the workforce or whatever it may be. I mean, it doesn't even have to be about that. It's just about having the life that you want to have.
And have, enough financial literacy, enough of a financial foundation that you can live the life that you want, just like you could if you were a man.
Yes.
So for folks who want to find more information about this, what's a good resource for them to go to learn more?
SchwabMoneyWise.com is a wonderful website that talks about every concept in money, whether it's taxes or budgeting or investing or debt management, and it's got calculators and tools and also a whole resource section for teachers if they want to look at different programs and so forth. So lots of good information. Or if you're trying to raise money-wise children.
Perfect. Carrie, thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, you've heard it here. Parents, go ahead and hit that resource so that you can make sure you raise very money savvy boys and especially girls.